The late afternoon sun, usually a golden benediction on Willow Creek Lane, felt harsh and judgmental that Tuesday. 16-year-old Marcus was meticulously pruning the rose bushes in Mrs. Albright's front yard, a ritual he'd come to love. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the sweet fragrance of the blooming hybrids. Willow Creek was an idyllic street, manicured lawns stretching behind stately homes, a quiet suburban haven. It was also overwhelmingly white. Marcus, with his deep brown skin, close-cropped fade and an easy smile, was one of the few black faces seen regularly. Thanks to his adopted family, he hummed a tune, lost in the rhythm of the shears. He'd lived here for 10 years, ever since Chief Peterson and his wife Sarah had brought him home from the foster care system. He was their son as much as if he'd been born to them. He knew every crack in the pavement, every dog's bark, every neighbor's routine, and yet sometimes he still felt eyes on him, a subtle tightening of smiles, a lingering glance that suggested he was an anomaly, a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit the picture. Today those eyes belonged to Ms. Gable, who lived across the street. She was peering from behind her lace curtains, a phone pressed to her ear. Marcus offered a small wave. Ms. Gable, usually effusively sweet, merely ducked back. A knot tightened in Marcus's stomach. Here we go, he thought. It was almost clockwork. Whenever he was outside, unaccompanied, doing something as mundane as watering plants or walking the dog, Miss Gable's curtains would twitch, and soon after, a squad car would inevitably cruise by. Usually it was just a slow pass, a silent reminder. Today something felt different. The siren, when it came, was a low, insistent growl that escalated into a piercing shriek, cutting through the serene afternoon. It wasn't just cruising by. It was pulling up to Mrs. Albright's curb, red and blue lights flashing, painting the perfectly trimmed hedges in an urgent, pulsing glow. A broad-shouldered officer, Officer Miller, emerged from the patrol car, his hand already resting on his holstered weapon. His face was a mask of suspicion, eyes narrowed. Marcus slowly lowered his pruning shears, his heart beginning to pound a frantic rhythm against his ribs. "Afternoon, officer," Marcus said, trying to keep his voice even, despite the tremor of adrenaline. "Can I help you?" Officer Miller didn't respond with a polite greeting. Instead, his voice was gruff, laced with an immediate, undeniable accusation. "We received a call about a suspicious individual, loitering and possibly casing properties." "That you?" "I'm Marcus," he replied, gesturing to the perfectly pruned roses. "I live here. Well, down the street. I'm helping Mrs. Albright with her yard work." Officer Miller's gaze swept over Marcus, lingering on his casual clothes, a faded t-shirt, cargo shorts, sneakers, then flickered to the expensive house behind him. A dismissive snort escaped his lips. "Right, and I'm the King of England. What's your real story, kid? We got a description of a black male about your age, looking real out of place." "I'm not out of place, darling sir. I belong here." Marcus's voice hardened slightly. "This is my neighborhood." "Don't get smart with me, boy," Miller snapped, his hand moving more decisively towards his gun. "Let's see some ID now." Marcus reached slowly into his pocket, his movements deliberate, his eyes fixed on the officer's face. "It's in my wallet." "I can get it for you, but I need to tell you something first." Miller took a step closer, towering over Marcus. "You don't get to tell me anything, son. You follow orders. Hands out of your pockets, slowly. Turn around, put your hands behind your head." The world seemed to shrink, the scent of roses replaced by the metallic tang of fear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was something deeper, uglier. This was the raw, unvarnished assumption that because of the color of his skin, he was inherently a threat, inherently a liar, inherently a criminal. He'd seen it on the news, heard stories from friends, but experiencing it, feeling the cold weight of undeserved suspicion, was a different kind of pain. "Officer, please," Marcus said, his voice now a desperate plea but still calm. "I am the chief's son." Miller barked a laugh, a harsh, humorless sound. "Oh, you're the chief's son now? What, you think that's going to get you out of this?" "Chief Peterson is a white man, kid. You expect me to believe he's your father? Nice try. Now I'm not going to tell you again." "Hands behind your back!" He grabbed Marcus's arm, twisting it behind him with surprising force. Marcus gasped. a jolt of pain shooting through his shoulder. He knew better than to resist, knew that any struggle would only escalate the situation. The cold steel of the handcuffs clicked once, twice. Marcus felt the humiliating bite of the metal around his wrists. "You're making this worse for yourself." "Marcus," Miller growled, pulling him forward. "Obstruction of justice. Resisting arrest. You're going downtown." The short drive to the precinct felt endless. Each bump in the road sent a fresh wave of adrenaline through Marcus's system. He stared out the window, watching his familiar neighborhood disappear, replaced by the grittier, anonymous streets leading to the police station. His mind raced. What would his dad say? Would they even believe him? The thought of his parents' worry, especially his mom, Sarah, was a dull ache beneath the fear. He swallowed hard, trying to push down the rising panic. He was Marcus, Chief Peterson's son. He had to keep it together. The precinct was a blur of harsh fluorescent lights, stale coffee smells, and the low murmur of police radios. Officer Miller, beaming with an undeserved sense of triumph, led Marcus through a swinging door into a larger room. Several officers were scattered around, some at desks, some gathered by a coffee machine. "Got a live one here, boys," Miller announced, a smug grin plastered across his face. He pushed Marcus gently forward. "This one's a real comedian. Says he's the chief's son." He laughed, a loud booming sound that echoed through the room. A few chuckles rippled through the officers. One detective, sipping from a mug, raised an eyebrow. "Oh, really? Chief Peterson's got a secret kid we don't know about." More laughter. "And a black kid, too? That's rich." Marcus stood there, handcuffed, his face burning with humiliation. He felt their eyes on him, full of cynical amusement, dismissive disbelief. The injustice of it all threatened to overwhelm him. He wanted to shout, to rail against their prejudice, but a lifetime of lessons in navigating these spaces held his tongue. "Just breathe, Marcus, just wait." The laughter peaked, a cacophony of mockery that pierced the quiet hum of the station. It was then, precisely then, that a familiar, authoritative presence filled the doorway behind them. The laughter instantly died, replaced by an abrupt, stunned silence. Chief Robert Peterson stood there, his face unreadable as he surveyed the scene. He had just finished a late meeting in his office down the hall and was heading out. His gaze swept over the group of officers, lingered on Officer Miller's triumphant smirk, and finally landed on Marcus, handcuffed, standing alone, the clear target of their derision. Marcus's eyes met his father's. A flicker of raw hurt, of profound disappointment, crossed the chief's face before it hardened into something cold and terrifying. "What?" Chief Peterson asked, his voice low, each word a chip of ice. "What is going on here?" Officer Miller, startled but still oblivious to the true nature of his predicament, straightened up, trying to regain his composure. "Chief, sir, just brought in a suspect. Loitering, false identity. Claims he's your son. We were just having a laugh about it." He gestured dismissively at Marcus. The chief's eyes, however, were not on Miller. They were fixed on Marcus's handcuffed wrists, then rose to meet his son's pained gaze. The laughter and the officer's flippant explanation had painted a damning picture. "Marcus?" Chief Peterson said, his voice now devoid of any professional formality, raw with a father's protective instinct. He took a slow, deliberate step into the room, his eyes never leaving his son. "Dad?" Marcus whispered, the single word a fragile thread of relief and vulnerability. Officer Miller's smug expression, slowly, agonizingly, began to crumble. He watched as Chief Peterson walked purposefully towards Marcus. He saw the chief's hand reach out not to secure, but to tenderly touch Marcus's shoulder, then move to the cold steel binding his wrists. "Unlock these, Officer Miller," Chief Peterson commanded, his voice tight with suppressed fury. "Now!" Miller fumbled with the key, his hands visibly shaking, his face turning an ashen gray. The realization, slow and excruciating, dawned on him. The suspicious individual, the out-of-place black kid, the liar who claimed to be the chief's son, was indeed the chief's son. He had mocked his chief's own child. The poetic justice of the moment was a bitter, suffocating irony. As the handcuffs clicked open and fell away, Chief Peterson pulled Marcus into a tight, fierce embrace, right there in the middle of the startled precinct. "Are you all right, son?" he murmured, his voice gruff with emotion. Marcus leaned into the familiar warmth, the tension finally seeping out of him. "Yeah, Dad, I'm okay now." Chief Peterson gently pulled back from Marcus, his gaze now turning to Officer Miller. The fury was no longer suppressed. It blazed in his eyes. "Officer Miller," he said, his voice slicing through the silence, "you are relieved of duty, effective immediately. Hand over your badge and weapon, now." Miller fumbled, his face slack with terror and shame as he complied. "Chief, I didn't know." "You didn't know because you chose not to." The chief cut him off, his voice unwavering. "You saw a young black man and made an assumption. You dismissed his truth, ridiculed him, and subjected him to an illegal arrest based on nothing but your own bias. This department has a zero-tolerance policy for that kind of conduct." Chief Peterson then turned to the other officers, his voice rising, addressing the room. "Let me be abundantly clear. Marcus is my son. My wife Sarah and I adopted him when he was 6 years old. He is family. And this incident tonight is an unacceptable display of the very prejudice we are sworn to fight against. Every single officer in this department needs to remember that. This is not how we serve. This is not who we are." The incident sent shockwaves through the department and the community. Officer Miller was swiftly terminated, his career ending not with a bang but with the quiet, humiliating rustle of disciplinary papers. The 911 call from Ms. Gable was flagged as racially motivated, and the chief issued a public statement condemning biased policing, reiterating the department's commitment to protecting all citizens. In that press conference, Chief Peterson proudly introduced Marcus, publicly confirming their adoption and the bond that defied appearance. For Marcus, it was a profound turning point. The initial shock and humiliation gave way to a quiet, burning determination. He realized that if this could happen to him, the son of the police chief, openly mocked and arrested in a police station, then it could and was happening to countless others with far less privilege and protection. He had witnessed injustice up close, not through a screen but on his own body, and he knew he couldn't stay silent. He started small, speaking at community meetings, sharing his story with local youth groups. His calm demeanor, combined with the undeniable weight of his experience, made him a compelling voice. "It's not just about what happened to me," he'd explain, his voice resonating with newfound confidence. "It's about the systemic issues, the assumptions that are made about us just because of how we look. It's about building trust, truly seeing each other, and ensuring that our police departments serve and protect everyone." He started attending police accountability forums, learning about policy, and advocating for de-escalation training and implicit bias education within law enforcement. He partnered with civil rights organizations, pushing for transparent complaint processes and stronger community oversight. He even started mentoring younger black boys, teaching them how to navigate interactions with law enforcement, and more importantly, how to assert their dignity. His journey was arduous, filled with setbacks and moments of frustration, but the image of Officer Miller's face, contorted in realization as his father confirmed their bond, was a constant reminder of the poetic justice that could be achieved when truth confronted prejudice. It fueled his resolve, turning his personal pain into a powerful purpose. Marcus, the boy who was once assumed to be out of place in his own neighborhood, became a formidable advocate for police reform. He stood as a living testament to the dangers of profiling, a powerful voice reminding everyone that judgment based on appearance could lead to devastating, sometimes irreversible consequences. In the end, the truth always finds a way to reveal itself. It often hides in plain sight, obscured by preconceived notions and ingrained biases. The world is full of complexities that defy simple categorizations. So the next time you think you know someone, the next time you're tempted to make a snap judgment based on what you see on the surface, remember Marcus and Officer Miller. Remember that appearances can be deceiving, and true understanding begins when we look beyond the obvious and open our hearts to the human story beneath. Judge not by the cover, but by the content within. If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more stories with powerful lessons. Share this to remind people, respect goes deeper than skin.